Hey there, it's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Degrassi Reddit poll video that turns into a Cutter idea. I did something about Degrassi characters based off the Rankit.com post, and how Rankit did 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 Degrassi characters. There was like 100 of them, and of course there were a few that I was shocked at that were really terrible, and some that I really was happy about. But the fact of the matter is, I wanted to let the Reddit community help me deal with the best characters in Degrassi history. So, what I did, and you'll see the subsequent video at the end of it, was that I was planning on um, setting up that. My idea was to have six main characters from the three iterations of Degrassi. The next gen from 1 to 7, and then Degrassi from 8 to 14, and then it would be next class from 15 to 18. And I would put six characters, three males, three females. I needed to make things gender neutral, as in like the same amount of boys and girls to try to keep things in balance. And then what I said was the top two competitors in each of the polls would go into the final six, and then the Reddit community would decide who the top six characters are, and subsequently the middle two of the six. So there would be six characters to go from 7 to 12, and then from 13 onwards would be at my mercy. My plan was to do 20 characters, but then it got up to 25 key characters. I know there were some characters that you like that are not in the top 25, but unfortunately that's the way it is. So at the end of the video will be the rankings and the polls and all that, so that you guys will know like who got in and all that. All right, so as I said, I was hoping for those 18 characters and then for two wild cards, but I got 7 wild cards, so I got up to 25. So number 25 is Tristan. He was in the next class thing because I needed to find good characters in next class, but Tristan was there. Tristan was a decent person. Like, he was homosexual, and he was, you know, people forget that when he started as a character at Degrassi, he was actually very chubby and then cleansed himself to lose weight to be around a guy, and it hurt. But basically, Tristan turned out to, keep the weight off for some reason. So, anyway, yeah. Tristan had a few decent relationships, especially with Miles, but Tristan figured he didn't want to hold Miles back from a relationship with anyone else, even Lola, who Miles impregnated. So, of course, Tristan was kind of biphobic in a sense. He wasn't homophobic, he was more biphobic. He had a lot of conflict to do with Maya because he was afraid that Maya was stealing Miles from him. But Maya was just concerned about Miles and his upbringing. And, Maya was concerned about Tristan, because Tristan was with Mr. Yates, which would have been a terrible relationship. And Tristan took it as Maya just being crude and all that when she shouldn't be. A lot of people actually were happy when Tristan did fall into a coma at the sake of the bus crash after season 2 of Next Class. But, wishing for people being in a coma is just terrible. Number 24 is Frankie, who also was on the original list of the Next Class people. Now, thankfully, Frankie made it on this list. Like, she had some good qualities to her. I mean, yeah, racism plots notwithstanding, Frankie was okay. And she had a main part in season 14 with the Degrassi nudes thing and trying to get Zoe to confess her role as the kingpin of this thing, and of course Frankie getting a lot of help from other people. But the fact of the matter is, her racism plot in season 16 just didn't make sense. I mean, Frankie tried to apologize. At least she tried to apologize, but she failed miserably. So she basically told everyone, "I hate myself." for loving you. And basically, yeah, Frankie in season 18 actually did enter a polyamorous relationship, amorous relationship with Esme and Sig, who are both missing this list. So yeah, so Frankie was okay in a sense, but she had her issues. Number 23 was Grace. She was not originally on my list. Someone said Grace should be in the top 20 and all that, but I put her top 25 when I extended it. So I think that Grace was a great person. Like she had her issues. She was with Jonah. She was one of the main people who helped solve the problems in the Degrassi Summer movie before Next Class started, and was hailed a hero. She had cystic fibrosis, and she had her breathing problems. So she finally got her set of new lungs after in the aftermath of the Next Class finale, like being in the hospital and getting her lungs. So she's much better now. Number 22 was Lola. Lola was the bubbly, charming girl who came in, I think, season 13 and all that, and was one of the main cheerleaders for the Degrassi nude scandal in season 14. But Lola was a decent person. She ended up getting in a relationship with Miles after Miles lost Tristan into a coma. And, Lola ended up getting impregnated by Miles. And Lola was actually seen in the room where they were about to do the procedure, which was shocking to a lot of people. But yeah, Lola actually convinces Syed, or was it Boz? I think it's Syed, to stay in Toronto after Syed got in trouble for allegedly doing a bomb threat during prom, which it wasn't. It was Esme. So yeah, too bad we didn't know about Lola's ending. Number 21 is Ellie from the original group. And no, she wasn't part of the top 6 from the OG era. Like from seasons 1 to 7. Ellie was basically this goth girl who really liked being goth and basically, wanted to have a relationship with Marco. But Marco unfortunately turned out to be gay. And Ellie said she would hide Marco's secret from everyone else. But Ellie at the end decided she couldn't do it anymore and needed Marco to come out of the closet. So Marco does in season 3. I'm actually surprised that Marco didn't make the top 25, but unfortunately that's the way it goes. And then you got yourself the fact that, Ellie had to deal with an alcoholic mother and a father who's off in Afghanistan fighting, and starts to cut herself. Even though Paige seemed to be kind of a dick to Ellie at times, Paige actually wanted to get Ellie help for her self-harm. And so Ellie did. She got her help. She actually moved away from her mom and into Sean's student apartment. So, yeah, for a while. But then her mom actually said, fine, Ellie, but, I've changed. And thanks to Alex, Ellie realized that her mom did change and she moved back with her. Number 20 is Ashley. And no, Ashley was not part of the list and all that. The original top 6 of seasons 1 to 7. Ashley, to me, seemed to be a very decent character, but, a lot of things happened to her that were wrong. Ashley was going to probably be the big breakout star in season 1. She had a lot of stories centered around her. No, she wasn't really an A type of person like Holly J, but she was more like a go-getter and all that. And, at first I thought Ashley was great because, she's a black character. She's not even mixed. It's like, what? She's not even mixed. She looks black. And that would have helped her character. I think people would have understood her a lot more. But that's just me. But Ashley was a decent person. Unfortunately, she ended up taking ecstasy at the end of season 1. And it seemed in season 2, no one was willing to forgive her, even though Ashley was trying to feel better about herself. Ashley, I know for sure, really had a grudge against Paige because Paige pushed Hazel and Terry to stay in the warmth of Paige's clique rather than be with Ashley and probably be outcasts. Ashley turns goth, I think, as a way to get angry at everyone for pushing her out. And then that's where she's with Ellie, and then basically she's got some sanity problems. Fortunately for her, she kind of got out of the goth phase in a sense, and then gravitated towards Craig and was hoping to be with Craig for a while. But Craig ended up cheating on her with not with Ashley, Manny, and then Manny basically, Ashley blurted out Manny's pregnant and all that. I can understand Ashley's scorn. I think she did it because she was more concerned. Ashley turned out to have some emotional trauma, and her mom didn't know what to do with Ashley. But then Paige snapped Ashley out of it, saying that basically, Mark, you can't feel angry because Craig cheated on you. You got to take a step. So Ashley writes this song saying Craig's scum, but Craig ends up winning her back with a song of his own, apologizing for everything. What the fuck, Ashley? Ashley and Craig become a couple in season 4, and that's when Craig gets to be bipolar and Ashley helps him out, but then she leaves for England and Craig goes off the rails, and then she comes back to try to be with Jimmy, but Jimmy and her just are incompatible. Speaking of Craig, he's next on the list at number 19. He was in the original post, but he did not post in the top 4, so he had to be at the mercy of being from 13 to 25. I think that Craig, in a way, was a good person. The way he was introduced into the show, wow, that's just pure amazing. The first episode of season 2, he's there kind of stalking Emma and Angie around getting abused by his dad. Joey didn't understand why Craig wanted to be with Angela and wanted to take a flight with her to British Columbia. But then, after Craig plays chicken with a train, Sean and Emma get Joey to realize that Craig's dad was making him have nervous breakdowns and all that, and he probably wanted to die. Thankfully, though, we do find the woven pieces of why Craig is so close to Joey is because Craig's mom left Albert, I mean Craig's dad, and married Joey. So they're kind of step siblings in a sense. Joey takes Craig in. Craig lives with Joey for a while. Unfortunately, though, Albert manages to get Craig back, but abuses Craig one too many times again, and Craig just wishes he died. And Albert dies, and then Craig is unsure how he should feel. He ends up winning the Luau King thing at the dance. Hallucinates Albert's right there and tries to go after him. Thankfully, Terry was there to calm Craig down and all that. Craig, of course, cheats on Ashley with Manny in season 3. I think Craig wanted to be with Manny in season 2, but things didn't work out. So Craig and Ashley aside. So Craig basically becoming a little bit of scumbag and all that. Getting Manny pregnant, and then, I understand why he wanted the baby. Because he didn't really have any real family left. I mean, Joey was kind of the only piece he had left. I just wish he told Manny that. Craig does forgive Manny for aborting the baby later on. But, Craig then gets in a relationship with Ashley, and, Craig makes Ashley lose her virginity to him. But Craig ends up stealing Joey's credit card and runs up a huge hotel tab by trashing the room. He wants to be with Ashley, wants Ashley to marry him, but Ashley tells everyone that Craig's just being ballistic. And, Craig finally gets diagnosed with being bipolar. Joey helps him out. Ashley helps him out. But then he gets off his meds once Ashley leaves for England, and he's in the boiler room, and what the heck is going on? Craig has some strange relationship issues with Ellie, and such that Ellie almost walks into the Pacific Ocean to kill herself. Remember that Degrassi Goes Hollywood thing? Yeah. Craig becomes a rock star, gets addicted to drugs, has to go to rehab, and lives a better life. At number 18 is Liberty. Yeah, she didn't make the top 6 in the original poll, the seasons 1 to 7, because quite honestly, it was tough to beat Manny, Paige, and Emma in the whole scenario. But basically, Liberty was an A type. She was a go getter. She was a grade grabber. She basically had some social anxiety and all that. She just gave off a terrible vibe to people. Season two, she tries to be the manager of the girls' floor hockey team and tries to style herself like Napoleon. Oh, baby. Fuck you. So, anyway, Liberty doesn't make many friends about the situation. And, she learns to back off a bit. Liberty chases after JT because JT is an iconic person. Liberty wants to be with JT, which is funny. JT tries to stay away from Liberty. But Liberty has not too many friendships. She's closer to Manny than Emma, in a sense. Season 4, Liberty was pissed off when Emma was upset over the fact that Liberty was going with Chris. So she basically cuts Emma out of her life and all that. Liberty and JT do work well together in season 4's Dracula thing. And they both realize they like each other, so they have it. And then all of a sudden, Liberty at a rap party for the Jay and Silent Bob movie is eating pickles. It's like, what the heck? And then we find out that Liberty's pregnant with JT's kid in season 5. And Liberty basically hides the pregnancy from everybody. How she managed to pull it off without being slut shamed is beyond me. But the fact of the matter is, she does end up giving birth to the kid and puts it up for adoption and then gets PTSD. Not PTSD. Postpartum, sorry. But it feels like her parents basically tell her to suck it up, saying that your grades are more important. Who cares about how you feel? I guess maybe Liberty's parents didn't have any postpartum problems. But still, I mean, like, fuck. So, yeah, so Liberty was around season 6. She seemed to be jealous that JT was moving on from her and being with Mia. So, Liberty is upset when JT dies. She finds JT, who had been stabbed, and cries out her primal scream. But of course, she is accused by Mia of not having feelings. She's a fucking robot. Liberty and Toby do have some kind of relationship, but Liberty and Toby, I think it was just because of grief got them together. But yeah, Liberty understands the thing. She still becomes a go-getter. She dates Davian in season 7, which was weird because they both were fighting it out for valedictorian until it was decided that both Lakehurst and Degrassi needed their own graduation ceremony. And then, Davian cheats on. Davian was supposed to be with Emma. Liberty is upset over what happened, but Emma and them said that Davian was the dick, not her. And that kind of does explain why Liberty went to Smithdale. Liberty changed universities from Banting to Smithdale. I think she just didn't want to be where Damien was because it just didn't make sense. So Liberty, Emma, and Annie were in the same college, but Liberty left after 1 year for pre-law. Of course, Liberty got a racism plot line in her college thing, but, other than that, nothing much. Number 17 is Winston, who also didn't get nominated to the top 6 in his thing. Because Frankie and Tristan were there too. But yeah, Winston was not there. Someone nominated him in the comments, but yeah, I think Winston was a decent character. I mean, he seemed to be a person. To me, it feels like Winston may have been gravitating towards Miles, maybe more than being a best friend. Maybe he had some gay tendencies. I don't know. Winston was almost being groomed at by Mr. Yates too. Let's not forget that. But yeah, Winston comes to prominence in season 14, trying to help Frankie get back on the volleyball team. I mean, the volleyball team, pardon, the cheerleading squad by blackmailing Zoe for all it's worth. And his plans just went up in smoke. However, it's not. I think it's fair to say that Winston may have gotten some perks from Principal Pill for, outing the Degrassi nudes thing. All that. But yeah, Winston and Miles seem to be very close together. But Winston has a girlfriend, Goldie, and the new power couple of Degrassi, which was great and all that. Number 16 is Eli. when I saw Ellie's name, I'm like, and I was blanking on another character. I'm like, who else is good? And then Eli, I'm like, well, I know Eli could be pretty bad, but I think Eli was a very good character. You know, I kind of a foil for whoever is number 15. So, you know, Eli drove a hearse everywhere. He was dark, he was mysterious, he had a lot of issues. But Eli, when it came to his biggest thing to prominence for me is season 13 when he, or is it season 12? Pardon, season 12 is when he and Claire were going for a picnic, and all of a sudden Eli sees Cam's mutilated body and has his PTSD and all that. But thanks to Snake and Eli's dad, who ranked number 2 in the best parent on Degrassi, I feel that Eli got a lot better. He seemed to mature a little more in his later seasonal appearances, like 13 and 14. So yeah, he was good. And the person Eli was with was Claire at number 15. Honestly, I was actually shocked at how much hate for Claire happened. Like, I always say that, there's 3 eras: the Emma era, the Claire era, and the Maya era. And only one of those 3 girls actually got very good consideration to be in the top 10 characters. The other 2 didn't. So I did Claire at number 15. It's just that. Like, Claire was a minor character to her sister Darcy in season 6 and 7. But in season 8, she was now up for being a prominent role with, Casey, Ali, and Connor. So Claire was following in her sister's footsteps. Claire was basically being portrayed by the writers as the next Emma because they threw weird storyline after storyline at her, especially with her being with Casey, a bad boy, mirroring what Emma did with Sean. I feel bad Sean didn't make the top 25, but whatever. So anyway, Claire got a lot of weird storylines. Casey being swiped by Jenna, her parents divorcing, and Claire doesn't know how to feel because of the Christianity law and all that. And then Claire basically wanted to join a weed cult because she just can't stand her parents divorcing and all that. But they assure her that it's not Claire's fault why they're divorcing. So anyway, Claire stops being the overdramatic Christian character after the divorce. Now Claire does have a nice guy named Jake. Unfortunately, Claire's mom actually likes Jake so much that, Claire's mom marries Jake's dad, which means that Claire and Jake are step siblings, and basically they can't really have a relationship. But Claire tries to be with Jake, but fails miserably. And then she gets cancer and all that. She gets sexually harassed by her boss. She gets a lot of things done to her. She was going for student council president. Well, she got pregnant in season 14 and was going to have a kid, but lost the kid. And then stupid pills cameras forced Claire to do something drastic and kill the cameras because of privacy issues. Yeah, basically they wanted to see how much Claire can endure, or Aslan Paul, who was the actress who played Claire. Number 14 is Jimmy. I know that a lot of people will probably be thinking, hang on, didn't Jimmy make the top 6 in the thing? No, for some reason, I didn't. I put Spinner, JT, and Craig in as the 3 males. I was trying to make it 3 males, 3 females. I know Jimmy should have been there. But I think Jimmy was a better character than we all thought he was. He was basically just a jock and a little bit of a bully. He had issues with Spinner, a weird friendship to be had. And then, of course, Jimmy came into prominence in season 4 when he was one of the tormentors of Rick Murray, and then was put on the Wacky Rain team with Rick because of Heather Sinclair's mono. Jimmy got to know that Rick wasn't really a monster and that Rick may have changed. So he switches sides and protects Rick. Unfortunately, that gets Jay and Spinner all pissed off, and they want to hurt Jimmy in a sense. That's why they pin him in the bathroom. Jimmy gets shot in the spine. Could have been much worse if Rick was really going to go after Jimmy. And then Rick you know, died thanks to Sean. So Jimmy was in the hospital for a few months. He was having conflicts with his family who really weren't happy with him being in a wheelchair, but at least he wasn't dead. But Jimmy comes back to the school and basically thinks he's gonna be he's not the same old Jimmy. Spinner tries to cheer him up, but he fails. Jimmy does not talk to Spinner for over a year. Why wouldn't he? Yeah, why would you want to talk to Jimmy? I mean, Spinner about the fact that Spinner put you in a wheelchair. Regardless of what ends up happening, um, yeah, Jimmy was okay and all that. He wanted to do a music career. If he couldn't be the jockey, he would be a musician. And how were we supposed to know that Jimmy was going to be the rap mega god Drake? Number 13, and just outside the top 12, aka did not make it to the top 4 in any of the polls, was, of course, the first major star of Next Gen, Emma. Emma was featured quite a bit in Degrassi Junior High and High, but then, Next Gen, she was the protagonist, if you will. The first ever episode was about her being catfished by a middle aged man. And thankfully for Emma, her friends helped her get out of the mess. Emma got herself into a lot of trouble in season 1, mostly with being jealous that Manny would be doing cheerleading. Emma thinking that cheerleading is sexist, even though Paige says, we're going to have boys on the team. But that doesn't mean anything. Gender doesn't have to do anything. Sexism isn't just gender related. It's just, people want to take advantage of young girls sexually and all that. Emma also got in trouble for making something about Liberty, like Liberty and Coach Armstrong. Like, Emma didn't know the full scope of what Liberty being comforted with Coach Armstrong because of her dyscalculia, aka her bad time in math. And that ruined things. Season 2 was when Emma became the real triggered star of Degrassi. I mean, she's upset that her mom would want to marry and date her teacher, her media teacher. It's like, what does that say about me? Well, fair enough. But she does get into Manny's business quite a bit. She does force, in a way, she does force Spike and Snake to keep the kid that they were gonna abort and all that. She does get triggered by Radish's problems, but that was in the right, in a sense. I mean, Emma did do some wrong in that storyline, but she did okay in everyone's eyes, especially Snake's eyes. And then season 3, she finds her real father in a mental group home. And, she's upset that Spike didn't tell her about her dad. But Snake stepped up to the plate and told Emma about Shane and the history. And Emma calms down. Then Emma gets upset over the fact that Manny wants to over sexualize herself, so they stop being friends for a while. Emma is upset that Sean wants to be a candy bandit, aka being part of Jay's gang, rather than be with her, dealing with the fact that Snake's now got chemo and she has to watch Jack, in a sense, her baby brother. She's with Chris, of course. Was she really in love with Chris? I don't know. But regardless of everything, she just didn't seem herself. The whole abortion thing with Manny and all that, I'm glad that Emma actually protected Manny in a sense. And she said that Craig is right, but I have to say this about Manny being a dick. So I guess the best of both worlds. Season 4, she ended up losing Manny and Liberty as friends because of her pettiness over Christine and Liberty. She falls into Paige's clique to destroy Rick, but she can't do it. They took the cause out of context, so she said, no, I can't do this. She ends up friendless, except for the Wacky Brain team of Jimmy, Toby, and Rick. So basically, they all fawn over her. Well, not Jimmy, but anyway. Regardless of what ends up happening, Emma ends up getting into Rick's offenses, even though she was just trying to do the right thing. She blows off at Rick, and then Rick decides to shoot Emma after shooting Jimmy. Emma thankfully gets saved by Sean, and Emma goes into zombie mode for a while. But gonorrhea, for some reason, snapped her out of her funk, and she knew she had to be who she had to be. And she did, in a sense, accept blame for Rick's problems. Season 5, she becomes boy crazy, in a sense, being with Peter, even though Peter ruined Manny, like, and Manny lives with Emma. So Emma probably thought in power. She has an eating disorder brought on by her secretive relationship with Peter, and also that Snake was cheating on Spike with Hatzalakos, even though it was an innocent kiss. So yeah, so Emma had problems. She beat the eating disorder with Peter's help and all that. Then Sean pops up in season 6 and ruins that relationship. Emma's with Sean in season 6. They have to go through the JT stabbing and Emma overreacting to Manny's problem, to the stabbing thing. Basically, she was angry at Manny for not listening to her. I mean, Emma was warranted, but she just did it in the wrong way. And then season 7, she ends up having to deal with Snake's problems after Darcy says some stuff about um, Simpson that are not true, and Emma almost has a eating disorder again thanks to Purple Dragon, but she stops her fearly. She gets to have closure with Sean in a sense. Then she goes off to college with Manny and Liberty, and then we find out that Emma was clutching at straws for a relationship, mostly maybe because of the Rick situation. Unpopular opinion, I know, but yeah. So yeah, she's with Spinner, and it was shocking to see Emma and Spinner together. Okay, so number 12 on the list was Zoe. Zoe was not in the top 2 in the era from season, I guess, the next class era. So that's why she dropped to being anywhere from 7 to 12. And the photos put her at the bottom of the list in the B tier. So Zoe was this actress who was kind of a dick in a sense and used probably her celebrity to avoid trouble whenever possible, especially like cyber shaming Maya. Maya retaliates and Maya gets in trouble. So basically, Zoe's celebrity is a problem for Snake in a sense. Zoe then gets her just desserts in a sense for being a bully, as she got raped by Luke Baker and an associate. However, all goodwill towards Zoe kind of went out the window in season 14 in the Degrassi nude situations. Zoe wanted the cheer squad to get better outfits, so they sell weird pictures of themselves for money. And the weird thing is, Hunter is one of them too. Really, Hunter. So anyway, yeah. So Zoe feels in command and all that, and then Degrassi nudes all goes for shit. She almost gets 5 years in jail for child pornography, but thankfully she gets out of it thanks to a good lawyer, and she has to serve community service for a long time. She ends up trying to hook up with Grace for a relationship, but Grace is straight, so Zoe deals with Rasha. Zoe comes out of the closet. Her mom basically is upset. More so for the fact that with Zoe being gay, no one is willing to put her in media, so Zoe can't earn money. And so Zoe's mom either has to work or find another guy to marry. You can probably guess who she married. It could also have been for the fact that Catholicism does not like the people in the LGBTQ2 community. Most of them do, but whatever. So yeah, so Zoe becomes valedictorian after Tristan's coma, and she doesn't care about her mom, saying that her family is the friends she's met, and Rasha too. Number 11 is Sig, who also was part of the lower part of the third poll, like the next class thing. So he got demoted to 7 to 12. So he was number 11. I kind of think Sig is a good person, but he seemed to be very possessive of Maya. I made an unpopular opinions video about him, and I also compared him to Veronica from the Archie comics. No, not to say comics because in the Archie Riverdale CW show, things are a whole lot fucking different. It seems that every time Sig has Maya in his grasp, he becomes very angry, not really good towards Maya. That's kind of like Veronica with Archie in her grasp. But it seems that Sig is jealous of the attention Maya gets from other boys, like Miles and a few others. And that's what Veronica is, that she's jealous that Archie gravitates towards Betty. So yeah, that's creepy. But the fact of the matter is, yeah, Sig seems to be jealous every time Maya's with another guy, especially Cam. Sig was partially the reason why Cam committed suicide and all that. And Sig admitted it, but Maya laughed him off. A lot of people said Sig should have just been written off after that season. But no, Sig was in a gang, and I feel like with him being in a gang, he knew that he could get Maya's sympathy and all that. So yeah, so Sig and Maya weren't really a good couple. They were kind of toxic towards each other. But yeah, Sig kind of seemed like a jerk and all that. Number 10 is Sav. Sav was in the middle poll, the from 8 to 14. He didn't make the top two, so thus he was put in the B tier. So at number 10, he was the older brother of Ali, and basically, Sav had a good relationship with Anya. I wish I put Anya on this list, but I didn't think Anya was that good. Anyway, Sav and Anya were a good pairing, but unfortunately, Sav was under the belief about his parents' religious thing and an arranged marriage, and many times Sav just left Anya high and dry. Sav even had a relationship with Miss O, which was creepy. But anyway, yeah, Sav seemed to be a decent person and all that, but him leaving Degrassi was kind of controversial from a writer's point of view. But Sav would find himself overshadowed. Well, ends up winning student president in season 10 thanks to Anya turning on Holly J. But Sav and Holly J date, and Sav's parents agree to that, but not Sav and Anya. I feel bad for Anya that basically it led to her downfall. Anyway, Sav would be overshadowed by his younger sister, who scored higher than him on the list at number 9. So Ollie was a pretty good person. She had a lot of drama thanks to her relationship with Johnny DeMarco and, being in trouble with her being with Drew because of Audra. Yeah. So Allie gets put into another school, but Allie gets in trouble for smoking, but she was bra- not brainwashed. She was framed for it. And basically, Allie's parents basically believe the other girl's story and not letting Allie explain herself. Allie decides to run away, finds Johnny DeMarco, who tells her you got to go back to your parents and you can't run away from your problems because Johnny tried to in the wake of him seeing Drake Lampley, and I have to specify because remember he stabbed JT in the aorta. Allie becomes a changed girl and she does quite well with less stress from her parents. She blossoms. Although she does get a relationship with Leo from France, and why she lies about Leo, I don't know. She gets abused. Thankfully, she does send Leo packing. Thank God. Number 8 is JT. Yeah, I feel bad that JT did not get into the top 6, but the other two characters you can understand. So JT was basically the class clown that liked to hang around Toby and tried to be mature. He was an actor. He got in a few commercials which he was laughed at for. He wanted to go after Manny and all that, but Manny said no, JT. JT was being chased by Liberty, but JT didn't have any feelings towards Liberty. JT considered himself more mature. In season 4, he made the fateful decision to be with Danny, aka Liberty's brother, more so than Toby, which led Toby to be easy pickings for Rick to be friends with. So anyway, so JT doesn't really get involved in the whole Rick Murray situation. Unfortunately, Manny does chew JT out, saying that, if he stayed loyal to Toby, then Toby would not have had to gravitate towards Rick. JT understands that and gets back together with Toby in a sense. However, JT and Liberty are an item, mostly because Liberty finally tells him about their feelings and they both feel good about each other. And of course, JT gets Liberty pregnant. JT quits his job at the TV station to try to be a pharmaceutical assistant and actually steals OxyContin and Vicodin at Jay's request because Jay said that many people will sell their own mothers to get some pills. JT is in too deep with the drug dealer, with Liberty, and with the police chasing him. So he decides to try to off himself. Thankfully, though, he's alive. And thankfully, Liberty's dad does try to get JT some help. JT loses Liberty and the baby, obviously. JT bounces back with Mia, and Mia having a 2-year-old named Isabella, and Liberty's jealousy and all that. However, JT being with Mia gets Lakers pissed off, and basically they want to hurt him. They manage to faithfully do so, successfully injure him with the stabbing in the aorta, like I said in Ali's thing. So unfortunately, JT dies out, and it was just shocking. I know Ryan Cooley wanted to leave the show because he wanted to go to college and said that take me out in some gory fashion, but I really don't think that it was necessary to kill JT off, literally. And number 7, just missing out in the top 6, was Paige. Paige was a very strong, sassy woman. She was basically the queen bee of Degrassi, often fighting with Heather Sinclair, the famous unseen character for that notion. There's even a Degrassi mini that Paige actually looks in the mirror and finds she's Heather. So basically, she's her own creation. But anyway, Paige seemed to be good. She had some decent relationships with Spinner and all them. But of course, Paige would beat herself up for a few reasons. Season 2, she ends up falling in love with Dean from Bartell. And basically, she goes to a party with Dean, and Dean rapes her. Paige doesn't tell anyone for fear of embarrassment, but thankfully, thanks to Ashley, she does go to see Miss Sauvé and get help for that. Spinner helps out. A song helps out at a song contest, helps deal with Dean. And then season 3, she has to deal with Rick harassing her best friend, Terry. Paige ticks off Rick at a ravine. That means that Rick runs off. Terry goes after Rick, and then, of course, Terry gets hurt by the rock and put in a coma. Paige wants justice for what Rick did, but, seemingly she got justice when Rick was pulled out of school by his parents. Unfortunately, in season 4, that was just when everything was just shat upon her. Season 4, the first few episodes were to talk about her rape trial finally getting underway. Unfortunately, though, she does end up losing the trial because the judge said even though Paige had some great testimony and all that, there's no physical evidence. It's like, why the hell didn't they give physical evidence? And didn't Sauvé's stuff not come into play in this thing? Fuck. So anyway, Paige gets harassed. Paige decides to crash Spinner's car into Dean's car, gets into a whole lot of trouble, and offers to pay Spinner back for the car. Sadly, though, when she's trying to help Spinner out, Spinner has goo-goo eyes on Manny. Anyway, Paige now has to deal with the fact that Rick is back at the school, so when she realizes that no one's willing to help out their troubles, she turns to Emma because she's the cause girl, makes Emma part of her clique, but is upset when Emma protects Rick through some strange circumstances. And I wouldn't put it past Paige to expect the word that Emma was a hypocrite, and basically Emma should be persona non grata. Paige was approached by Rick with the gun, but Rick did not raise the gun enough that Paige saw it, and Paige calms Rick off the ledge, in a sense. I say that a lot of Rick's problems were with Paige. But anyway, yeah. So Paige ends up having a relationship with a student teacher named Mr. Olander, which was wrong in a sense. But the worst part is that Paige was protecting this guy. Like, I just can't stand it. Like, what the fuck, Paige? You're better than this. So basically, Olander gets into a whole lot of trouble. Well, he does take the rap after all that, but Paige being a Olander, I think the sense that she was being betrayed by a lot of guys led her to probably turn lesbian towards Alex, because we had saw no signs of her being gay. and all that. And then all of a sudden, poof, she's gay. Alex was a good relationship, but basically Paige was in command because of Alex's social standing, Paige's social standing, like really high up. But Paige, in a sense, went to school, and unfortunately, Paige's college life was terrible because she started to have panic attacks and she had to walk home in shame. So, yeah, that was terrible. But Paige was still an independent woman. So, here we go, top six. And there is a pattern in this. Number six is Miles. To me, I actually am shocked that Zoe was below Miles. But anyway, Miles was a decent character in Degrassi and all that. He was bisexual. His dad wasn't really happy with it, thinking that it was just some kind of ploy. But it wasn't. Miles had some great relationships with Zoe, with Maya, even with Tristan and Lola. So he was basically the playboy. Like he was the oldest son of a rich person who wanted to be mayor of Toronto and somehow won. God. So anyway, Miles was abused by his dad, but his dad calmed down in a sense and accepted Miles for who he is. Miles went to a prestigious writing school in Europe, not riding like I thought for horses, but writing. So he was okay. I really liked him. He was a decent character. Number five is Maya. Speaking of what Miles was, Maya was ranked number five and all that. I don't blame her at all. Like, basically, she was the only one of the three main protagonists, Emma and Claire, to actually get into the top two in voting for any season. Hell, they got to the. Hell, she was the only one that was in the top four. So, anyway, Maya was introduced as this cello playing prodigy who was Katie's sister, Katie Madeline's sister. And Maya's first major role was being in a love triangle with Sig and Cam. Sig was really jealous of Cam having eyes on Maya, and Maya liked Cam. So Sig provoked Cam, got Cam in trouble, and got Maya to basically not give Cam any help with his problems. But Maya does feel bad, Cam feels bad, and they get together, and then Cam breaks up with Maya over a text. And also when Sig was a piece of crap towards Cam. Maya is told to say a few things at the memorial for Cam, but she doesn't really say too much. And then half a season later, she blames herself for a lot of things and is upset that Cam broke up with her over text. I would have helped whenever possible, and I may never be happy again. I think she was just trying to set herself up for failure time after time. Maya in season 13 took a aggressive approach to try to have her friends be safe and sound. Although it did get Maya into a whole lot of trouble with people, especially with Miles. Trying to help Miles in season 14, her mom and the police officer basically told her that it's okay to be concerned, but don't ruin your life because of one boy. So, yeah, that's just horrific in a sense. You know, Maya seemed to, after helping Miles deal with his dad in season 14, she seemed to be okay. She turned out to be a feminist. She was still sick. She was okay, but in the long run, she wasn't. And a bus crash in season 2 actually triggered her emotions for death for some reason, trying to be closer to Cameron. So she does try to kill herself in season 3 of Next Class, season 17, by going on the bus, listening to music, taking some pills, and all that, and waiting to fall asleep. Sadly, though, it all fails. As basically, you know, she thinks she's doing something wrong and she can't kill herself right, so she decides to go up on the rooftop. Unfortunately, though, she didn't give the pills enough time to kick in, and they did kick in, and she was found on the roof. Thankfully, Zeke and Esme help out Maya. So yeah, that was just terrible. You gotta feel for her. And then the last year of Next Class ended up being um, that she went through a little bit of anxiety after that. She was recovering from her anxiety phase and all that. Maya did feel terrible over the fact that she accidentally asked Sig to prom, and that got Esme stand her up. Esme was upset that she wasn't getting a lot of attention for saving Maya and basically wanted to destroy Maya's life. Basically thinking that, you know, Maya doesn't deserve this attention. Why are people not paying attention to me? So Maya felt bad for seeking hurt and didn't want to go to graduation, but Grace calmed her down. And Maya and Sig headed for California. At number 4 is Adam. You know, Adam Torres, the transgendered one from season 10 that set a precedence for Canadian acting. So he was Drew's brother in a sense, but wanted to be Drew's brother instead of Drew's sister. So she turns herself from Gracie to Adam. You know, tapes herself up to look like a guy and all that. She gets outed by Bianca accidentally, of course. And, you know, Adam makes good friends with Eli and Claire, even though Claire is kind of a Christian and all that. But Claire cares about Adam, transgender. Like, and Adam was a good character that we can all relate. His problems with trying to fit into society as a transgender person, we could all feel. So Adam seemed to be good. He found himself Imogen and Becky as friends. Adam wanted to be towards Becky, but of course Becky's parents didn't like Becky with Adam because Adam was transgender. So yeah, Becky tries to do things for her parents, but then finds out, yeah, I shouldn't do this. Uh, uh, so Adam unfortunately meets his maker through a texting and driving thing. Just episodes after Cam died, Adam finds out Adam tries to juggle two girls, but decides to go after Becky. And you know the text happens, and then he crashes, texting and driving. Adam survives, but dies the next few episodes. So it's shocking to see Adam die off and how people just didn't want to be with Adam. A lot of people said that CTV was being transphobic in a sense, but I don't see it. Because the actress wanted to leave the show. But yeah, Adam was a sad, tragic, emphatic member of Degrassi. Number 3 is Holly J. Holly J was far and away the winner of the season 7 to the 8 to 14 poll. But anyway, Holly J at number 3. I don't agree with it, but it's the Reddit stuff. So Holly J came out from under her sister's shadow, that being Heather. Holly J went to Lakers while Heather went to Degrassi, which was weird. But, you know, there was a thing that, some kind of boundary thing that the girls could choose where they go. And Holly J didn't want to be around her older sister. So basically, yeah. So Holly J went to Lakers, and then when it merged to Degrassi in season 7, she was there. She was very unbelievable. She basically was an A type. She tried to step on people, sure to make herself recognizable as a brand, and worst of all, she basically bullied Anya into being her follower, in a sense. Holly J would make no bones into making um, Anya into her follower and would not care about Anya's feelings. So Anya, beside, Holly J was kind of a dick. In season 9, they had a cyberbullying thing. Allie finally gets on Holly J's nerves, and it actually does work in a sense that Holly J stops being a dick. Sometimes she has been a dick. She has relationships with Declan, but Fiona is pissed off because she doesn't want to lose her twin, especially to Holly J. And then Holly J um, skips out on tonsillitis and finds out that the tonsillitis brings her kidney problems. So Holly J needs a new kidney. Worst of all, her mom is not her birth mom. She was adopted. So Holly J is upset she was adopted. And that Holly J's birth mother wanted $20,000 for the kidney. You know, it's illegal and all that. Holly J said that she was willing to pay $20,000. But she also said, well, why should I pay $20,000? And the birth mother said that because she has two kids of her own and she needs to recover her recovery time, she can't work to take care of her kids, so she needs money. Thankfully, Fiona steps up to the plate by buying one of Holly J's mother's dresses, and Holly J has the money for the kidney. Holly J Holly J wanted Sav and all that. She was named student council president in season 8 because the Shep was just that egotistical. And Holly J seemed to be okay near the end, but thank God that she had a redemption song. Number 2 is Spinner. Ranker.com said that it was he was number 1, but the Reddit community put Spinner at number 2. Well, Spinner was a good character. Beneath his bullying tendencies was a broken kid. We don't know what happened to his dad. Like, his mom was seen, but what happened to his dad? Did he die when Spinner was on the show? And Spinner had a adopted sister, Kendra, who was blackholed because some network executive allegedly didn't like Kendra at all. Racist much? But the fact of the matter with Spinner is that, he was kind of a bully. He was having issues with Miss Kwan, repeating her class over and over and over again. Just didn't seem the point. But season 4 for me was basically when Spinner turned into a terrible person. He aligned himself with Jay and Alex to destroy Rick once and for all for setting foot in Degrassi for what he did to Terry. Spinner had good reason to hate Rick. Jay didn't. Jay was there for the ride. But Spinner set up the petting and feathers thing. Well, Alex did it, but Spinner knew to set up things to dump it on Rick because Spinner was upset that Rick retaliated and also took Jimmy from them. So Spinner brags to Jimmy for some fucking reason that he got Rick out of the school, but Spinner realizes after after Radish talks to him that he's like, oh my god, Jimmy knows. And that's when Jay tries to help Spinner alleviate his guilt by blaming Jimmy for everything. Spinner is racked with guilt and wants to tell the police right off the bat after Jimmy is reported to be shot. But Jay said either outcome, he was your best friend. Spinner makes it his efforts when Jimmy comes back to Degrassi to try to help him out. He confesses his guilt. Unfortunately, the school turns on him. He's expelled alongside Jay. He wants to burn the school for burning his advances. But in the end, Jay saves him from that. Spinner is allowed to come back to season 5 and is put on probation by Hatzalakos. Spinner does everything he can to fix the situation. And, he got Darcy to help him deal with his guilt over what happened to Jimmy. And Spinner becomes a decent person in 6 and 7, protecting Degrassi people. Strange how he married Emma, but, really. And number 1 is Manny. I'm a little shocked. Excuse me. But Manny deserves to be number 1. I mean, she was the girl that we all wanted to be. Like charming personality. She got her fair share of storylines, with Craig, dealing off again, on again relationship with Emma as friends because of their differences in opinions on stuff. She wanted to sexualize herself in a sense. Emma didn't think that was a good idea. It was hard to find a good boyfriend for her at times. But then Jay popped up and Jay started becoming a better person. And Jay and Manny were a decent couple. Manny had the abortion storyline, of course, and the storyline about Peter framing her with topless videos and all that. She still was very consistent in what she did. And she wanted to make things right. And she wanted to be an actress. And she got her big break. So yeah, so Manny definitely deserves the number 1 spot as the best character in history. I mean, I didn't see how good Manny could be, but now I do. So that is so dynamite. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.